Hey folks, we're live here talking about the full moon in Cancer that's coming up on January 28th, and it's going to be in Pushya Nakshatra. Um, and this full moon is opposite the sun in Capricorn with a whole bunch of planets there. Excuse me. So we're bringing in this reflection of this powerful moon in Cancer, where it's the ruler, reflecting back into on the sun and Saturn and other planets in Capricorn. So we'll be looking at that chart in a minute here. I do also just want to make sure that people know, I just put the link in the comments, that you can get the 2021 forecast. Again, if you don't know, I do have this free web class for those who are new to the channel, where you can get and see the 10 most important shifts for 2021. We're just getting started. You can see we've just had one that just happened, the new moon. Notice how since January 12th, it's like we've done a big reset. Again, the year started with a lot of drama, and it's still, there's a lot of intensity, but we can all sense that we've moved into a new, sort of like a new shift. And it started after January 12th with the new moon in Sagittarius, right? And so, 2021 is a new beginning in many ways. And if you want to see exactly how these 10 most important shifts will happen and will influence you, then you can click that. You can click that link, and it's very easy. It's free to register. You just select a date and time. You can even watch an instant replay right now, and again, you'll also be sent a link where you can watch this. So again, that's also there for you. A lot of people, thousands of people have watched that. And you can also get the forecast for your sign as well. But what we're going to talk about today is this full moon also in Capricorn, in Cancer. As you see, this will be on January 28th. I'm recording this on January 25th. And you can see that that full moon is also in Pushya Nakshatra. Pushya is literally symbolized by the udders of a cow, cow's udders, right? And of course, we should always remember, and I'll just state it, that this is actually one of the most obvious indicators that the rashis, the signs, and the nakshatras are aligned in Indian astrology. Of course, Ashwini and Aries at the beginning of the circle of signs, right? In every Vedic astrology text it shows it, and you also understand it in principle, because what we call the tropical zodiac is really connected to the calendar. It's called the Sayana chakra, which is the circle connected to the solstices, which is different than the circle connected to the sky, right? So in Indian astrology, the sky is connected, or the zodiac signs, the 12 portions, are connected to the nakshatras and to the sky. So again, this is very clear to see, because if you're not using the sidereal zodiac, then the nakshatra of Pushya, which is literally the breasts of the sign of Cancer, the breasts. But that nakshatra is in Leo. So again, in Western astrology, which uses the tropical zodiac, it's the full moon in Leo, right? And of course, now you have Pushya, which is symbolized by the breasts, in Leo, which is a lion. No, it doesn't work. So again, clear alignment here with the sidereal zodiac. So what this means in this full moon reflecting back, in this case, is all these planets in the sign of Capricorn. And as you can notice here, there's this alignment now at that time with Venus, Saturn, Sun, and Jupiter all in Capricorn. So again, we can really feel this concentration of Capricorn energy. As I record this now, we have all of those planets except Venus. Let me just make this go back. Venus is currently, as I record this, still in Sagittarius. This is the 25th. Right? So if we move this forward to 26th, 27th, 28th, on that day, actually later on the 27th, but by the 28th, Venus has also moved into Capricorn. So again, a lot of Capricorn energy, which just means that right now we're really experiencing this need to organize, to control, to structure, to concentrate on those things that will keep us safe, because Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Again, it can feel like a lot of authoritarianism, just like when we were a kid, though, our parents felt like they were, the worst meanies in the world because they wouldn't let us eat M&Ms for dinner and made us eat, broccoli and good food. We thought they were terrible, but that's just because we were immature. So one of the things we have to understand about Saturn energy, particularly, I would say in some ways particularly Capricorn, because it's how it feels, is this feeling of being, stopped or prevented from just doing what we feel like doing. Stop, preventing us from playing and having fun and feeling good and being happy. Capricorn feels like it's oppressive, and it can be if we're not careful. But again, if we don't understand the nature of the energy, then we can just focus on that part of it and just spin out on negativity. We see in the world right now a lot of Capricorn themes of control, restriction. Consequences are important. A lot of consequences that have been brought to bear on things that have not been, in alignment with truth. And those who have been violating Dharma and truth and who have been childish and immature are feeling the consequences of that right now. A lot of heavy consequences. And so in our life, it can feel the same way. Look around you and notice that, the burdens that you may be carrying right now, or where you feel the burdens and the responsibilities for things that have happened now with these planets in Capricorn. It started last year because Saturn went into Capricorn last year, and the COVID stuff really started last year, and all of the feeling of having to go home and be in our room and all of that stuff. And so I said last year that we were going to be dealing with COVID and that feeling of being restricted and the kind of concentration for a couple years. Again, it's not all going to revolve just around COVID, but that need to concentrate and organize and structure, and the feeling of being put upon would be for a couple years because of Saturn going through Capricorn. We're really seeing it now because it's not just Saturn is there, but Jupiter is there. And of course, the Sun is there now, and Venus. So this full moon in Cancer, you could see I'm first talking about it within the context of Capricorn, because that's where it's opposed. It's opposing those energies. So the full moon is always opposite where the sun is, and it's reflecting back. So it's trying to bring greater sensitivity to that area of life. So the point being that within the context of all of the concentration and organizing and solitude and all of that, you need to also connect it with greater compassion and empathy and sensitivity and devotion. Very important. Very important. So while we're living these Capricorn themes right now and needing to be more, again, organized, and looking at what to, wall off from ourselves. Capricorn is where we create a structure. Of course, it's ruled by Saturn, and those structures and those boundaries are very important. And when the planets are in Capricorn, or let's say someone has planets in Capricorn in their natal chart, they will be good with boundaries. They'll feel fine asserting boundaries, and they'll have good boundaries. They won't just be protecting themselves from things they're afraid of. That's the negative part. When we protect ourselves from things we're afraid of, then that's not a good boundary. Boundaries should be there where we've recognized over time that something is unsafe, not useful, a waste of our time, a waste of our energy, because again, it's ruled by Saturn, and Saturn shows us that we only have so much time. So again, this concept of boundaries and concentration and focusing on things that are useful, not just frivolous, or not just that make us feel good, or not that we're just hoping is going to work out or whatever. The need to be serious about all that stuff and say, okay, look, we tried all this, now we need to grow up about this and focus more on our, the time that we have and the energy we have and concentrate it properly. That's the Capricorn theme. But opposite that is the sensitivity that comes from Capricorn that says, yes, but you can't lose your humanity. You can't lose the connection to your heart. Because Capricorn and Saturn is very, it can be quite a sort of cold and detached and sort of calculating energy, because it's literally a survival energy. It's a tamasic sign ruled by Saturn, which is a tamasic planet, and the tamasic energies are the ones that first want to keep us alive. Where the first thing we're noticing is that we got to be careful because things could kill us. One second. And so again, when we have good boundaries, our boundaries aren't just there to protect us against our irrational fears. They're actually tangible structures that we need to fortify. We need to fortify certain structures that are real and then keep out others. For example, fact-free world. We're starting to see the pressure of time, again Saturn, being brought to bear on nonsense, fact-free conspiracies, fact-free, childish projections here and there, or whatever it might be. We've been playing with that now for a while, and we're realizing, all right, this has gone on long enough, far enough. We need to now block some of that out. We need to get the people out who are doing this stuff. Again, one of the biggest things that we're seeing culturally around these Capricorn themes are a lot of what we might call some people are calling, censorship or whatnot, but putting up some boundaries, because we kind of let all that stuff go. And like in the U.S., we had this insurrection in our capital where people were using these tools to communicate and spread things that were they're just not true. They're not factually backed up. And look at what happened, right? So immediately what happened afterward, and again, we saw this big shift into the Capricorn themes, is we're like, all right, this is serious now. This isn't just conceptual anymore. So when they started to deplatform, get those messages out and put up these boundaries. Again, it's a debatable point. You can think what you want about it. I'm just saying we can see that Capricorn and that boundary and the safeguards in recent events, right? So I talk about things like that. So the full moon in Cancer is reflecting back, though, more of a sensitivity, reflecting back more of a compassion, more of a, okay, but we can't just be cold and ruthless. We have to be, again, sensitive and compassionate. And so the signs work in this kind of polarizing way, right? We have one extreme and then the other extreme. We go toward the extremes. And especially the full moons, the lunation cycles, the new moon is the beginning of a cycle, and the full moon is the halfway point in the cycle, right? And so that halfway point now is reflecting back on these planets in Capricorn. So Pushya Nakshatra, as I said, is that section of Cancer that's literally ruled by the breasts. It's related to the breasts. And the deity is Brihaspati, who was the priest of the gods. And there's a great story that shows this nature of Brihaspati. He was the priest of the gods, and he was married to a beautiful woman named Tara. She was like the most beautiful of all the women in the kingdom. And she was so beautiful that Chandra, who was the god of the moon, and he's a man, fell in love with her. And, Chandra would go around, like Chandra the moon circumambulates the zodiac. He keeps moving all the time, and he goes into a different house every day. And it's said that all the nakshatras are the wives of the moon, right? And so when he went into the house of Tara, he became so captivated, and he said, "Okay, I just want to be with you." And so he stole her, he kidnapped her, ran away. The two fell in love, and then he took her away and ran off with her. Stopped going through the sky, and said, "I want her for myself." Now, she was the wife of Brihaspati, who was the priest. And, he was, as a priest, he wasn't exactly, Mr. Excitement, so to speak. He was, proper and formal. And Chandra, of course, was the moon. He's sort of, Mr. Romantic moon guy, right? So Tara fell in love with him as well. And so they ran off, and then the gods ordered Chandra to bring Brihaspati's wife back. "What are you doing? You can't do this." And he refused. He's like, "No, it's real love." So eventually they got Shiva involved, and of course, as is wont to be in these kinds of stories, the whole universe was about to blow apart, and finally he agreed to bring her back, but she was pregnant with the son. And no one knew who the son belonged to. Was it Brihaspati's son or was it Chandra's son? Well, it turned out that it was Chandra's son. And she gave birth to the son, and the son was Buddha, or Mercury. So Mercury was the result, the product of the moon, Chandra, and and Brihaspati's wife. Now, Brihaspati is also symbolized by Jupiter. And so Jupiter's wife and the moon are what created Mercury, or Buddha. Now, again, there's a whole kind of story in that as well, which is quite interesting to ponder what that means. But at the very least, it shows that the nature of this nakshatra in Cancer, again, it's about nurturing the child. It's about nurturing that life that has come forth, regardless of all of the messy story of, Chandra and its illegitimate child. In spite of all that, Brihaspati, who is the priest, loved the child, fell in love with the child, agreed to raise the child as his own. Not just agreed to raise the child, but he loved the child as if it was his own. So there's a lot of graciousness and devotion in this nakshatra. This is the part of Cancer that's right in the middle. It's the part of Cancer that feels very connected to their nature. Pushya, again, it's the breasts of Cancer, which is the sign of the mother and of nurturing and suckling. And again, not to beat the point to death, but of course this shows why you have the sidereal rashis, the sidereal nakshatras and zodiac signs aligned. Everything about it. It's the breast of the sign of the mother. So please realize this, okay? But it also shows the traditional values, the traditional family unit, so to speak. And that Cancer, like if someone has a Cancer ascendant or planets in Cancer or whatever, and especially the nakshatra of Pushya, they have that desire, they have that orientation toward the traditional, even conservative, simple devotional qualities of the heart. Again, Cancer is a sattvic sign, which is aligned with higher causes and higher purposes. It doesn't mean higher cause like political. It means things that are pure, like purity of energy. Like caring for a child, that's pure devotion. By the way, it doesn't have to be a child. You'll see that in this nakshatra of Pushya, it really supports things like caring for animals, for example, especially as we become an adult. Because, again, the nature of Cancer, and especially the nakshatra of Pushya, it's about suckling like young babies, or even like puppies suckling on a mother's breast. It's literally like the breast. That's the symbol, where you're just giving, you're just nurturing, you're just giving sustenance. You're not asking for anything in return. You're not thinking about what it does to you. In fact, they're kind of sucking the life energy out of your body, and you're transmitting it into another body. And you're only doing that because you want the other body and the other being to live. You're literally trading your life force and energy to another being. And the sattvic energy is like that. That's what sattvic energy is. Sattva is that quality of life that's about selfless love, selfless giving. And I make the distinction between, and I use the idea of pets and very young children to be kind of like the same thing, because once children then start to get older and we start to have a personality, then the relationship with our parents changes. It's not that selfless suckling anymore. There's part of it is that, but, you know, there's also the parent's personality and the child's personality now. And that energy becomes more like Libra and more like Venus. For example, the reason children get along with their parents as adults is not really because of the selfless love suckling part anymore. It's more about the Venus and Libra part. So in many ways, parents need to develop a relationship with their adult children that's based more on the way we get along with other adults, which is mutual respect and all that stuff. So this is why the parent-child relationship is a little more complicated. And if you want to understand it, especially through the qualities of Cancer, of that sign, and the nakshatra of Pushya, it's just as relevant, and even maybe more so for adults, to look at our relationship with animals and pets and other beings that we just selflessly love and care for, because our nature is to love and our nature is to give love and to just want to see and feel warm-hearted. So this full moon is going to bring about a lot of those qualities. And again, this is a full moon opposite all these planets in Capricorn, where we can very easily feel a disconnect from the heart and feel the emotional distance. Because again, if you look at this chart, you have all these planets over here in Capricorn. There's a lot of Capricorn energy, and we've been almost as a matter of necessity. I mean, we could see a lot of this culturally, but with some of the things I mentioned earlier, like with some politics, we also have, there's enormous uprisings now in Russia about what they've done to Navalny, and there's all kinds of also, our responses to COVID and tired of being, secluded or quarantined and whatnot. There's a sort of coldness that that's been happening for the last couple years, and the coldness is a response to our circumstances, and so we're feeling the necessity, the need to awaken to these harsh realities that's made us a bit numb to certain things, and we do feel it. We've been kind of like feeling a bit like automatons, like sort of being numb to things. Again, that's a tamasic quality, and the numbing effect also comes from Saturn. Saturn is a numbing quality. The reason we're able to survive things that are really difficult for decades is because we become sort of numb to them. Again, you can even just look at the fact that Saturn is cold, and put an ice cube on your arm and see how it numbs you. You can numb the pain by cold. Cold will numb you to something. And so again, this kind of numbing effect of the last couple years, with Saturn going through Capricorn now, with Jupiter there, we have to be kind of numb to certain things right now because of a sort of messy lack of boundaries that we've had in certain ways. again, and I'm not talking about anything specifically political right now, but even our messy openness to things like abusing the planet, abusing animals, which again, when the whole COVID started, the first thing I really spoke about was how, as much as anything else, this is an opportunity, and it will eventually be that, and we're getting to it, and we're going to get back to it, especially in a few months, which I'll talk about, but to really analyze and assess our relationship to nature, especially to how we treat animals and food and things like that. And again, these are the heavy consequences because of things we were unaware of, where we weren't we weren't seeing the consequences of those things. And these viruses and whatnot that get released, this is the reason they get released, because we mess with ecosystems, and not to mention our poor physical health. Most of the people that are susceptible to dying of COVID and whatnot are people who are very unhealthy, who've been ingesting all these kind of products and not eating healthy, and so their immune systems are already very low and ravaged and whatnot. And it's very easy for us especially to be kind of numb and cold to all that stuff too. Those who are, let's say, who are really militant now against all the measures that we still put forth with COVID. And by the way, I'm not making a statement about this. Everyone is tired of it. I'm tired of it. I can also get into the idea of, well, it's all these unhealthy people anyway. What, are we going to just stop living because all these unhealthy people who have been messing up their bodies now are dying? I've seen a lot of coldness in our responses to these things now. And again, I'm not being judgmental, because at some point we also have to be rational and cold and say, how much of economy are we willing to devastate? Again, these are the issues. I'm trying to be neutral about them to some extent, because we're all feeling a certain numbness to this process. And I'm just bringing out different parts of it, because the full moon in Cancer is very much trying to reconnect us to the heart, reconnect us to the compassion that we maybe have been lacking, or have been, that we've compartmentalized because of all this Capricorn energy, right? And it's a full moon in Cancer. So again, the moon it's the ruler of Cancer. So it's wanting to feel empathetic and selfless love for all. And not for all out there, but within ourselves first. We feel disconnected from our heart, disconnected from each other, disconnected from family. We haven't been hugging each other. We haven't been affectionate with each other. We're all missing a certain amount of personal face-to-face contact, affection. It's really been psychologically hard for all of us, right? And so I think, again, it can be a big reason why, there's so much, explosiveness around, these other issues, political or whatever it might be. We're so fired up around them because I think there's just a lot of human connection and touch and all of that somatic sharing of affection and love for each other that's been put on hold now, and we're all tired of it, and but we're still in this. So this whole quality is also a big part of what we're bringing out. Again, I'm just trying to play it neutral and not judge wherever you are on the spectrum of all this stuff. We're all having some version of it. And so what can really be useful at this time as we move toward this full moon is really connecting to the heart, and devotional practices, and practices that really awaken that pure love, that purity of heart. And again, some of the things that we do externally have to do with, perhaps, engaging with our family and friends, or even again with animals or pets, or our gurus and our beloved deities, things that are that are more immediate and internal, not not externalized and not based on society and things that are in our head and intellectual. So this this full moon that's coming is a real opportunity to connect to the heart in a very deep way, and especially to reestablish that place of devotion in your own heart. And how are you, ask yourself the question, how are you nurturing and suckling and giving life and lifeblood to something bigger than you? Are you at all? Because this isn't just an option that we just get to decide, well, I'm not sure I want to do that. It's a part of life that each of these rashis and nakshatras and whatnot, they're not optional lessons. We need to learn them all. And when the lessons align, or when the cycles come, we're looking to see, this is the one we're trying to learn now. Again, this is the thing we need to understand about astrology. People are like, well, I don't have any planets in Pushya, so does it affect me? Or, well, it doesn't really affect me. Yes, it just means that you're going to be, if people have planets there, especially if it's a powerful planet like Jupiter and the moon, which are either, the ruler or exalted, then that thing is very developed. And then that quality becomes very like, yes, like a great power. If there isn't anything there, then it becomes something that's harder for you to grasp. It doesn't mean the lesson isn't happening. It just means it's harder for you to grasp that thing. When things get lit up from your natal chart relative to the whatever it is we're looking at, then that thing becomes very active in you. If you have nothing there, then maybe it's not as easy. But these are still the lessons, and these are the opportunities. And whether you have planets there or not, the opportunity is still there. Like, I don't have any planets in Pushya. I don't have any planets in Cancer. And in fact, my moon itself is probably my weakest planet in great enemy dignity and aspected by Saturn, all those stuff, if I want to do that. However, the principle is the same, because the qualities of devotion and guru and selfless love and sattva, these are common principles. And when we connect with something like the story of the nakshatra, we're connecting to a story. We're connecting to an energy that is seen in many different things. Sattva is seen by, again, sun, moon, Jupiter are sattvic planets. We have sattvic signs. The concept of suckling and nurturing is related to many concepts, like the fourth house ruler. So themes are universal. And yet moments are specific. And so, like with myself, what I would be doing now, and what I've been feeling very much lately, I've been feeling it for a while, but it's really fun because, I wasn't planning to talk about this so much. But, just yesterday, the last couple of days, and even the last week or so, I've really been thinking about getting a cat. Now, I've been wanting to get a cat for a while. Here in my condo, the rules are kind of strict. They only allow support animals. And I could get a support animal waiver and whatnot, and it's really just been kind of out of embarrassment, because you have to fill out these forms that say I need a support animal or something, which I don't really feel like I need the support animal, because I'm, not that there's anything wrong with people who do need a support animal, but it kind of feels like it's insincere to do that. But I see all these people here who have animals. Everybody who has an animal in the building, it has to be a support animal. It also has to be trained a certain way. But I really thought, okay, I'm really going to do that, so I'm not sure if I will, because it comes and then it kind of goes. But it's really just been feeling the desire to want to connect to the heart in that way, and that sort of suckling, because I really love animals. I love having pets, and particularly a cat is a good pet. Anyway, but so there's that thing, and it's like, oh yeah, this full moon is coming. And again, we feel the response because all these planets in Capricorn and all this Capricorn energy for the last year has really dialed in this almost sort of coldness that we've had. And so now this lunation coming around in Cancer is like trying to bring a connection to the heart. So then we'll feel that very developed as we get closer to that full moon, right? But the other thing, even though I don't have planets there or whatnot, I have Jupiter, and Jupiter is somewhere. Jupiter is in Pisces. Okay, so that connection to my guru is so powerful. So I've been feeling that so much of that devotion the last few days, and really growing as we move up to that. So that devotional quality is still there. We still have a connection to a guru, to something selfless. So I'm saying this because in your life, this is what you want to be looking at, your connection to these opportunities and situations to give selfless love. Again, through your family, through your friends, that's also there. And, a lot of the selfless love is also given to our friends, friendship. Friendship and especially, being a mitra and the mitras around you that you support, that you just give to. You don't want anything from them. And you let them give to you as well. People just giving to each other. Not because of we make any money off each other or we get something or whatever, but just because our nature is to give. Our nature is to nurture and whatnot. So this is, this is a very important part of what's happening right now. And the connection and that unification of having to have good boundaries and having to concentrate and be mature and adult and not do it and not lose connection to the heart. Not be disconnected from the heart. That means the ones that we might feel we need to be protected from, the ones that are representing something that we're afraid of. Because when we do that, then we lose the connection to our heart. And that connection to the heart is that connection to the soul. It's the moon and the heart that connects our limited experiences through the ascendant, through our physical body, in time and place. Those experiences create emotions and feelings on the surface, but then in a deeper sense, when we calm down all the emotions, there's just stillness in the heart. The heart is peaceful, or wants to be peaceful. So all of our meditation and our devotional practices create a stillness. And when there's stillness in the heart and a connection to the heart as well, then we're perceiving our true nature, which is not just the limited world, but the unlimited self. And again, the limited world and the unlimited self, between the two, there's the heart. There's our emotions and our feelings. So this full moon in Cancer has that devotional need. And you'll be aware of how devoted you are and how emotional you are and how much of your devotion is actually just emotion. We get the two mixed up because if we've never had pure devotion, then our excited emotions feel like devotion to us. Being all happy and elated about something feels like devotion. And by the way, I'm not ridiculing anyone, but devotion is much deeper. Again, that's why I talk about things like the way a mother is devoted to the child, the way we're devoted to our animals or whatever. It's not an emotion. It's not, think about it. Think of that pure love that you have for your brother or your sister or your child or someone or your friend who you want nothing from. That's devotion, which means it doesn't matter what they do. You still love them, and it's not this excitable, hot kind of energy, urgent thing where you're triggered if they do something you don't like or, this whole thing. That's emotions. That's the emotional roller coaster. And a lot of romantic relationships, that's what it is, and that's what we think love is. It's not. That's just emotions, and there's nothing wrong with them. They create a lot of energy. But until all of that calms down, and until we learn how to calm all of that drama, which is really just what the word is, down, we don't have any peace. Because peace is deeper than that. So again, this is why I talk all the time about channeling all of that emotional energy into devotion, something that's not changing. It doesn't come and go. You know, my guru Amma has a beautiful way of saying it, of course, like she says everything, but she says, love isn't an emotion, it's a flow. Pretty deep words, isn't it? Love isn't an emotion, it's a flow. Because again, emotions are like triggers. You're just getting triggered. And if you have this high of a good emotion, you're going to have this high of a negative emotion. It's just a matter of time. It's just like a wave gathering energy toward the trough. You have the height of the wave and the depth of the trough. And it's just, they just keep going like this, the pendulum swinging. It looks like it's all the way this far. It's just gathering momentum to go all the way this far. Looks like it's all the way over here. It's just gathering momentum to swing back here. It's just a pendulum. It's not, there's nothing stable in it. Meditation is stabilizing this. It's calming down all of the swinging pendulum so that it's like, and then there's depth, there's clarity, there's love, and your true nature. So with all of this extreme of Capricorn and Cancer, where you have all of this energy in Capricorn, which is also about stillness and stopping and like, stop. Combining that with the sensitivity of the heart, of having the moon in Cancer, shows enormous power and ability to really connect with your devotional practices, with really connect to the heart beyond all of the emotions. Because the other thing that happens with, you know, with Saturn capturing all these planets is Saturn in many ways just kind of sucks the joy out of things. Again, and the first thing is, oh, that's not good. Oh, that doesn't feel good. Again, that's just the emotional mind. That's the immature mind. If our life was here, if we were here to be happy, then that would be a bad thing. But because we're not here to be happy anyway, sucking the joy out of things just means, okay, this isn't joyful right now. All right. But there's something deeper that's there when that gets crushed on some level. What gets crushed is the illusion that this joy that you were trying to find was ever going to be eternal anyway. That's all. That was never real anyway. Your idea that you're here to be happy forever was never real anyway. Again, it doesn't mean you're here to suffer. It just means that childish notion that, well, I'm just going to try to be happy forever was never going to work anyway. But there's something much deeper that's much more beautiful than that childish notion. Just like the childish notion I started with that, well, why can't I just eat candy for dinner, huh? Oh, you're saying I can't? Oh, you're so mean. We think we're developed more than that. We think as adults we've evolved beyond that childish notion. And frankly, we haven't. We're still just trying to eat candy for dinner. And thinking that the universe is bad because it's not letting us. Because every time we do it, we get a stomachache. Okay, yeah. Now instead of wanting to eat the candy for dinner, now the candy is something like this person who was supposed to make me happy and they didn't. That thing that was supposed to make me happy and it didn't. And the universe is so mean, it's still the mean mommy that sent us to our room, or whatever immature notion we're still grappling with. So again, all this Capricorn energy is making things serious. But again, especially now we've moved on past quite a bit. Like I said before, I'll just put the link to the upcoming, or to the 2021 forecast is there. And as I said, once we started the year, the new cycle of hope a couple weeks ago, we really moved on. Especially this year, it was really like a new beginning. The stuff that happened before that was really very much like last year. It's like, when's it going to end? You could see how we've put a lot of that behind us. Look at how even just, I will tell you, just living in the U.S., even just since last week, it feels like a whole different world. And even you can see it around the world. A lot of situations have just shifted in a way that it felt almost impossible a few weeks ago. I know when I was making these forecasts a few weeks ago, I could see what was coming up, and I was like, look, things are going to shift. It doesn't seem like it, but things are going to shift really quickly. And honestly, when I say these things a lot of the time, I'm saying them on faith, because to me it doesn't feel like it either when I'm saying it. It doesn't feel like it because I'm living the same moment too. I'm still feeling the stuck and this, but I can also see what's coming. And it's like, look, we're going to have this new moon. We're going to do this. This thing is going to shift. These planets are going to go. And again, we still have these exalted nodes. We still have Mars is in Aries. It's powerful. It's bringing intelligence, awareness, power, and a kind of break. It's going to be a big break in 2021. And again, the big theme of my 2021 class was that it's a few months of a lot of intensity, the first few months. But then things are going to immeasurably improve very quickly. We're going to put a lot of the intensity, not behind us, because Saturn's still going to be in Capricorn and whatnot. But again, Jupiter's going to move into Aquarius. It's going to go back. We're going to have other shifts. And I talk about that in this 2021 forecast. It's free. You can just register for it. And I talk about how quickly things shift and how going throughout the year, we're going to see a lot of the intensity, even that I'm talking about now, start to be less and less. So again, this full moon that I'm talking about here is opposite all these planets in Capricorn, all of this pressure, seriousness, even feeling worried. We're gonna start to move on from it. Right now, where we're at though is to reconnect to the heart and the sensitivity and the devotion, the compassion. It's going to be very important how the relationship you have with your gurus and your teachers and your friends, and the things that you're loving selflessly, and that you're feeding and nurturing and nourishing selflessly, that really feed you, regardless of how they came about. Again, the story of Brihaspati, even though his wife went off and had a scandalous affair and all this stuff, he could have resented the child. All those Indian stories you often see where the illegitimate child was then treated badly. Saturn was the illegitimate child of the sun, and he was mistreated by his mother and all this stuff. That's not the case in this nakshatra. It's gracious. It's inspired. It's sattvic. It's, even though the child was from illegitimate this or that or whatever, now the child is here. And look at the beautiful child. Look at the beautiful thing we have that we're privileged to be able to care for and pour our love and devotion into. Your life is surrounded by all those things. Maybe you've abandoned, maybe you're not connected to it, but that's your nature. Your nature is to just nurture and love and water that garden and commit and grow and humbly serve something higher than you, than yourself. And I'm so blessed to have seen such a living example of this for 20 years. And so again, this devotion, this love and devotion with the moon in Cancer, in Pushya Nakshatra opposite Capricorn, where all that hard work and energy pays off in ways that just simple happiness doesn't. Think of how much better it is. You can get a little hit from some candy, but think of how much better you feel and how much more nurtured and nourished you feel when you eat good food, lovingly prepared, which is what your body actually needs. It takes a little more work, a little more effort. You might need to grow the food. You might need to do all this, but the payoff is much higher as well. So these are the important things that I see in this full moon cycle. Again, there's a few other things. There's combustion. There's other things in it, but these are the main qualities to focus on that I'm focusing on, and I'm just sharing that with you. And again, I hope this was helpful for you to hear, and that you benefit from this. We see Sarah Hayes says, this is my birthday and birth moon placement. Wow. So you say birthday, which would be, I guess, your Gregorian calendar birthday and your natal moon placement. So this is called the Nakshatra birthday as well. We have many birthdays in Vedic culture. Every month the moon comes around to your Nakshatra. That's a birthday every month. So this year they line up. Not only is it your solar calendar day, but it's your Nakshatra birthday on the same day. So that's very auspicious, Sarah. So this means that those qualities of Pushya that really govern your character are not only aligning your moon at the same time, but also the sun. So this is a really strong, sort of reset for you. So that's fantastic. And so a few other comments here. A lot of them are fantastic. How long does it take? A complete certification takes with me. You could do it in at least about 9 months to a year, but many people have done it, and so you can get some more information on that. Rachel W. says, imagine if large-scale animal agriculture was made illegal by governments if they disregarded economics and looked at the ethics. Yeah, but here's the thing: is that we've done huge shifts in the last year since COVID started. We haven't started to see the results of this yet, but it's happened where all of these like mock meats and these like Beyond Meat companies and whatnot have seen such an increase in their production, and it's only going to increase as more awareness comes. So what's going to happen is consumerism drives it first, and we're on the cusp of these breakthroughs right now. And again, I think as we get into certainly later this year and then over the next couple years, there's definitely some reasons to be hopeful. I've always had cats. Go for it. I love cats. I love all animals, but cats, I really like cats as pets. I like dogs as well, but dogs, they suffer a little bit too much for me when I'm not here. I don't like, I like to be able to get up and leave. I've thought of a dog, though, too, because I really love all animals, but I like cats as pets. Yeah. Do it, Sam. I'd love seeing a cat jump all over your place in your videos. I know, I would be terrible. I'd have the cat up in my face, and yeah, I love my cat. I had a cat for about 12 years. This is, definitely something that I'll likely be doing here, hopefully. And so anyway, so we have a lot of good things ahead, and again, we're really turning a corner, and we're still close to the old, and so just hang in there and really connect to the heart, connect with your teachers and your teachings, and feel that wherever you can nurture and nourish and give selfless love to others, including your friends, your animals, your family, or whatnot. We all need to reconnect to the heart in a spirit of deeper compassion. So anyway, thanks a lot for your time, folks, and you all have a good one.